Hi, it's Sandy Freshie. I'm back with a quick video. Today I want to talk about what to do when your emotions seem to have a life of their own. And I'm just going to share some things from my own experience of when I first started my deconditioning process, or maybe even about midway through, I would say. And I don't know if this is true of just people who have an undefined emotional solar plexus, but I happen to have an undefined emotional solar plexus. And one of the things that I started to experience through this waking up of my awareness about my design and what I was taking in my body was this sense that I became more and more aware of how I was being affected or experiencing emotions in a very dramatic way. And it seemed as though when I would get triggered into these emotions, those emotions would have a life of their own. Now, the mechanics of that may be different, or I know they're different between someone who's emotionally undefined and someone who has a defined emotional solar plexus. But the principle behind it is still the same. And what this awareness for me took me into was an understanding, my own interpretation, I guess, of Eckhart Tolle's pain body, where he talks about how old emotional wounds and triggers and traumas can come up and be triggered, and it's kind of like they're an entity all to themselves. You know, those emotions are their own entity, and it's like you have an extra energetic body that is part of you that you operate from when you experience those dramatic emotions that you interpret as pain. So I would say about midway through my deconditioning process, this became my thing that I was working with of really understanding and discerning what pain was mine and what was not. And at first I was in the middle of it and really couldn't see where, what was my wounding, what was I taking in from other people, and what was I amplifying, what was I distorting, all of that stuff, and it would just overwhelm me until I realized that this whole experience of emotional pain had a life of its own that was actually separate from who I really experienced myself to be when I was settled into my own sense of centeredness. But still, that didn't help, right? And if you're going through this, if you are overwhelmed by your emotions, regardless of your design, if you're overwhelmed by your emotions and you don't know what to do with that, and they seem to overtake you and they seem to run your body and run your actions and reactions, then this video is really for you. And I want to share something that I was guided to do when I was in the midst of this whole pain body experience. And Eckhart Tolle, please forgive me if I'm butchering the concept of your concept of the pain body, but that was my interpretation of it. And I will put some links to his videos down here so you can kind of get an idea of what he's talking about. But I'm sure if you've experienced this, you kind of know what I'm talking about. You viscerally understand what I'm talking about, that when you're in the midst and consumed with emotional pain, it's really hard to get clear and to understand what's going on. And even more importantly, it's hard to know what to do to soothe yourself or to get past it so that you can come back into your center. So here's what I was guided to do by my higher self, my healing guides, my guardian angel, whoever you want to, your concept of that higher wisdom help is. This is what the guidance came through as for me. I was guided to find a rock, and this doesn't have any sort of energetic properties that I know of. It's a dark rock. I had a dark rock I collect rocks, so I had a dark rock that I was just guided to pick up. And I went into meditation with this rock. And I want to just sort of take you through this. And if you are in a place where you're feeling a lot of pain, I want to invite you to find a rock. Because this rock has the capacity to absorb that emotional pain and hold it for you. So if you have a rock, or if you want to come back when you have a rock and watch this, please do. And take that rock and put it in your hand. And close your eyes. And allow yourself to settle into your present moment experience in your body. And as you go through this, you want to make sure that you really open up to your breath and allow deep breaths to relax you into the sensations you feel. A lot of times when we're consumed by emotional pain, we have a tendency to leave the presence of our physical experience. And then that shuts us down and allows the pain experience, the life of the pain, to sort of take over and have its way with us. So step back into your body with some nice, deep, relaxing breaths. And allow yourself to feel what you're feeling. Feel where that pain is in your body. And if it's anywhere but your heart center, use your breath and your awareness to bring that sensation of discomfort or pain up into the center of your chest. And it may help you actually to put your hands on your chest. Allow that pain to gather in your heart center. And as you do that, take your rock and put it over your heart center. And breathe into your heart, making a space for all of that pain to gather. And as it gathers, allow it to surround that nice, dark, absorbent rock. This rock can hold as much of that pain as you have to give it. So with each breath, just release your pain, your emotional pain, into your rock. Keep allowing it to absorb this entity that has run your perception, that was triggered into eating your energy and consuming your energy. in order to keep itself alive. It doesn't matter where this pain came from. It doesn't matter if it's from your own trauma and your own wounding. Just allow those explanations and those stories to be absorbed by the rock along with the pain. And allow also any pain that you've been triggered into, any energy that has come up because you've taken it on from others, just allow that emotional pain to be absorbed by the rock as well. The inside of this rock is like an infinite world where your pain body can comfortably reside. And you, if you choose, can keep it. And for a while, especially if this is a new process for you, I invite you to hold on to this rock. And anytime emotional pain comes up that is threatening to consume you, that is clouding your perception and throwing you off balance and consuming you with whatever messages it has to tell you, that tells you that you're not lovable enough, you're not good enough, you don't deserve, what's the point? Just allow that all to bring up this rock again, do this exercise, and allow that all to be absorbed into the infinite world of this rock. Your ultimate neutralizer for the pain in that you embody that has a life of its own. It can have a life in your rock, and it doesn't have to consume you anymore. So I, for some reason, still have my rock. I haven't pulled it out in a long time, but I have a little pouch for my rock. Because this rock also holds some of my history that no longer affects me or consumes me or overwhelms me in the way that it did. The history that led me to believe at one point that I wasn't lovable and that I wasn't worthy of love, that I wasn't good enough. All of those conditioned messages that sort of distort our processing and the way that we digest information that allow us ultimately or ideally to be more healthy and functional in the world. So all of that stuff that was distracting me from all of those messages that I picked up, all of that pain that it triggered, all of my past traumas are all in this rock. And I think I use this quite a bit. The initial time that I did this really took away a lot of that pain body experience. But I would pull it out from time to time and do this exercise of bringing that pain into my heart center and allowing the rock to absorb it. Somehow this amethyst crystal ended up in the bag. So, and amethyst is a really good healing stone that brings about balance and equanimity, and can be used for a multitude of things, balance in relationships, all kinds of things. So it's in here with my rock. And if you try this out and you find that it's helpful, I encourage you to get your own bag if you want to hold on to your rock and use it for a while as a tool or a ritual to assist you in really disengaging or resolving some of what you're holding in your energy body that has a life of its own that's very painful. You can put it in the rock, you can put it in the bag, and you can use the rock over and over again. If you decide to go through this exercise again, you may want to actually put on some healing music. I think the first time that I did this exercise, I did it with healing music. And I think that's all. I think that's it. Oh, there's one more thing I did want to mention about that all-consuming pain and when it comes up, especially when you're doing your own inner work, and those of you who are consciously going through the deconditioning process through human design, and you come to these places where it's like the ego takes over. It's the death throes of the conditioned mind, thrashing about, creating havoc in your energy field and in your body. One thing to recognize about that is that typically happens when you are at a point where you're about to make another shift, where you're about to make a breakthrough. And some people describe this as kind of the fear of the ego. The ego is afraid to die. The ego doesn't want to die. And then it kicks up all of your past pain, all of your wounding, perhaps maybe in one interpretation so that it can kind of continue to live. Or in another way, you can look at this as it coming up for you to be able to see and release. And if you're using this ritual or this exercise of allowing the rock to absorb the pain, you can release that pain into your rock and allow it to be neutralized. So that's it for today. I hope you find this valuable. If you have any other rituals or exercises that you use, I'd love to hear about them in the comments box. So until the next time, be well.